What's going on, guys? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to use apps to target your ideal audience on YouTube. Now, this option of targeting is something unique to the YouTube and Google platform. The only reason you're able to use this targeting is because Google also owns an app store. If Apple had its own advertising platform, you would probably also be able to target people who use certain apps on the Apple Store. But as is, currently what you're able to do on YouTube is target people who use certain types of apps. Now, this is extremely useful for pretty much all types of targeting. If you're doing B2B, it's an audience that is definitely worth testing. If you're doing B2C advertising, it's also something definitely worth testing. If you're doing really narrow B2B, you do want to layer this targeting with maybe some keywords or maybe some topics, because it does tend to be quite broad on its own. It's very similar to custom affinity. And just to let you know how this works, this is not retargeting. This is not taking people who use an app and just retargeting them with your ads. What Google does is it essentially looks at users of an app on the Google Play Store, and it creates a lookalike audience of those users and projects, their traits out onto a larger audience segment that you can then target. So very similar to affinity, very similar to kind of how interest targeting works on Facebook, or lookalike targeting, let's jump into it. I'm going to show you where to find it, how to use it, and some little notes here and there that I've picked up throughout my time using this targeting. So let's jump into it. So when you're on your Google dashboard, the way you find the app targeting is you're going to go to Tools and Settings, and you're going to go to Audience Manager. And then you're going to go over here to Custom Audiences and hit the plus symbol. So we're going to name this anything that you want. I'll name it Roofer. And we're going to select people who use types of apps. Select that. And then we're also going to deselect that first box there. So all we have is people who use apps similar to. And like I said, this is basically a lookalike audience of people who use these apps. So for example, let's say we want to target roofers. What types of apps do roofers use? You have to ask yourself that question. Well, in most B2B applications, most industries have a CRM or some internal software they use to keep track of sales. These are the types of apps you want to target in B2B. If you're doing B2C, and let's say you're trying to sell beauty products, then you'll use apps that are more targeted maybe towards women, where maybe certain photo editing apps that have a large female user base, or apps about makeup selection, color, or different things like that. So you want to ask yourself, what type of apps is my ideal audience going to be using from the Play Store? And this may take a little bit of research. Maybe go over to Reddit, see what different apps these communities use. That's a way you can research it. But what we're going to do here is show you two different ways that you can find, let's say, roofer CRMs. Let's say we're building a B2B campaign. So one way to do it is just to Google it. And I already have this Googled, and let's say we choose this as a CRM that we want to target. So we go here, and okay, the name of this looks to be iRoofing. So let's look this up right here. iRoofing. And you'll see that they have two. I recommend using both. Whenever a business has two different apps available from the store, I just include both. And generally, you only want to do one app per audience here. I wouldn't shove a bunch of roofing CRMs into one thing. You can do that, but likely the audience size will be very big. It's not going to display your audience size over here, but just through testing, I can tell you it's very similar to Affinity. You only need a couple targetings added here to yield a very big audience size. So this is an example for one way to search roofing. You can also search it in the Play Store over here if you want to find it. So we'll search iRoofing, and here we found it here. If you want to see all of the apps from this company, you'll click this right here, and that can show you all of the apps they have listed on the Play Store under their LLC. Now, one thing you'll sometimes encounter is an app won't show up in the Play Store for whatever reason. Maybe it has a different name than the company name. Most of the time, that's the reason, is they name it something quite different. The way to find those is to search the LLC name of the company, because the apps are almost always listed under the LLC name. So if you can't find their app just based upon the name of what it looks like their app is, you'll need to find the LLC of like iRoofing, and you can just search that in Google, and there's different LLC databases. But then you'll want to search that LLC either here or in the Play Store. And yeah, you can find it that way. Another way to find apps in your industry, besides Googling it, is just to type in roofing CRM. Actually, we need to do that over here. Go to the Google Play Store, type in roofing CRM, and you'll find a bunch. Now, you're going to want to look through these, make sure they're actually what they look like. Search them in Google, make sure they are what you think they are. But most likely, a lot of these are very good roofing CRMs that you can use in your targeting. So you can either search in Google, or you can search over here in the Google Play Store. You can also, if you just want to find like beauty apps, let's say we're in a different industry, there's tons of different targetings you can use here. I would probably use the one with the most reviews if you're just going to choose one or two. That way it's building that lookalike. We don't know how Google actually builds these audiences, but I imagine it's going to be related to the user base of the app. So most likely the more users an app has, the more valuable it's and more accurate it's going to be in its targeting. So I would, if you're just going to choose a couple, I would choose the ones with the highest amount of reviews. And there's a lot of apps in here. Like let's say you want to target marketers. You can do ClickFunnels and just ClickFunnels stats. Actually, ClickFunnels actually does not have an app. But you can check these out, see what they are. Let's do like marketing funnel, see what comes up there. Marketing funnel. ClickFunnels full course, marketing funnel optimization. MailChimp is definitely something if you want to target marketers. LeadOwl, I think that's Dan Henry's app, I'm not sure. A lot of these would be very valuable. ActiveCampaign is one I know. A lot of these are very good for targeting, like if you want to target internet marketers, or if you're doing a make money online course, these can be very valuable for that. So in general, you want to do about 1, maybe 2 apps per audience you create here. Generally 1 is enough though, especially if you're choosing, if they have multiple apps listed and you choose both apps, which is really the way to do it. Put all of their apps in one audience and run it from there. If your offer is super broad, you can just run this alone. You can run this alone, or maybe paired with some other audiences, and let YouTube optimize down and select the best winners. If your offer is more narrow, these audiences tend to be a little bit too broad for narrow targeting. So you're going to want to layer it, whether that means with keywords or whether that means with topics. Probably not placements. Placements is pretty terrible for layering. Really, your main 2 layering options for this type, for an audience, are going to be keywords or topics. So I hope that was valuable. I hope that helped you set up some better targeting for your campaigns. I like to use these a lot. Like all other targetings, they are hit or miss. On YouTube, you have to launch a bunch of targetings at first. It's just the name of the game. You have to launch a bunch of targetings, see what works, and then turn off the losers and scale the winners. Will this perform 100% of the time? No. Will it perform enough times that it's worth testing? Absolutely. And if you're in an industry where this does work, they tend to be very scalable audiences because of their size. So guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned something. If you want to learn more about YouTube ads and ask me questions directly, I have a free Facebook group. You can join it below, ask me questions in there. Every Wednesday, we go live at 7 p.m. and I answer your questions live there. I also have a coaching program where I directly help you one-on-one grow and scale your business, or if you own an agency, the businesses that you serve. I help you scale YouTube campaigns. You can book a call with me directly below to ask me questions about that program. More videos over here. I release about 3 or 4 videos of these a week. If you want to stay up to date with the most recent strategies that I'm using to scale YouTube campaigns, you can subscribe below and you'll get that info there. That's it, guys. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.